Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Draft Gym TV. As always, you are joined by me, Andy, FPL Teach Mode, and I am extremely excited to get started with our Euro 2020 content. Of course, we're going to be talking about the FanTeam game. They are doing a Euro 2020 competition with £1 million guaranteed prize pool, which I've said it before, £1 million, just amazing. Let's go for it. Let's try and get it. Now, today, we are going to be finally focusing on some of our content going towards trying to set our teams up for the tournament-long competition that's going to be going on. Once this actual tournament starts, we will then be focusing on the monsters every week, or every couple of days, I should say, actually. But before that occurs, we're going to be looking at each individual group and seeing if we can pick out some bargains, pick out some players, look at some key players as well, and just have a bit of a chat about all the different groups anyway. Now, you can see below me here, we've filtered out the team, so it is only showing Group A now. Now, Group A is made up of Italy, Switzerland, Turkey, and Wales. Below, as I've said already, you can see some of the teams. You can see their most expensive players. You can also see what position they play in. And I think there are some genuine bargains in Group A. I also think there are some really key players that I, for one, am most definitely going to be having in my team. You can see there just below me the fixtures. Turkey play Italy first, and then Wales play Switzerland. Now, if I were having a look at this group and just talking about the group in general, I think Italy are going to win it. I think, it sounds maybe a bit dullard to say that, but I do think Italy have the strongest team out of all of these. I wouldn't say Italy are necessarily the strongest attacking team in the entire tournament, but I think in this group, they have the ability to definitely do well attacking-wise and defensively. Now, I think Wales, sorry, Corf, my mate, I think Wales, unfortunately, are going to come bottom in this group, based just on quality, really, unfortunately. Yes, they have Gareth Bale, but when you look beyond that, it does start to look quite championship, unfortunately. So if I'm thinking that they're going to be finishing bottom, and the odds are with me on this one, it's between Switzerland and Turkey to take that second spot. I think Turkey are going to finish second in this group. I think Turkey have the second best team in this group. And I think I quite like the Turkey squad, actually. And also, they always do say, don't they, never rule out the Turks. So I'm fancying this Turkey team. I think Switzerland team have been priced as if they're going to finish second. But I think once you get down to it, I think Turkey's going to be the team that potentially do quite well. Now, if we jump straight into it, as I said, I'm going to be talking you through all the different teams. And I'm going to be talking you through their players and their predicted lineups today. So this is the Italy team. Now, before I really get into each team, I must say all of this is subject to change. Already, I'm seeing a bit of change based on the fact when we do the Spain squad, nobody thought Sergio Ramos was going to be out. So we are going to be looking at and thinking this could change a little bit. But the key players I talk about and the bargains I talk about, pretty much all of those are nailed. And when we're looking at it, the players that we're a little bit worried about, I either won't talk about or they won't really be considered by us. So if we have a look at this Italian team, I really like this Italian team defensively in this group. I think they could do incredibly well. And when I have a look at this back line, there are 2 or 3 players in particular. When you consider they only play 4 at the back, there are 2 or 3 players that I quite like. First one, Bonucci. Bonucci, 5.5 million, I think could be an absolute bargain. Yes, he won't get tons of attacking returns, but if I think that they're going to be quite a defensive team in this group and they're going to do quite well defensively, then I think 5.5 million for a player like Bonucci is quite good. When you consider the fact that Florenzi is 6.5 million, a whole million more, and you factor into the point that we've got to have benches in this competition as well, I think Bonucci's a very, very good price there. Spinazzola is also a very good price at left back too. Emerson, I know, was being talked of to come out, but he has not been called up, which is probably the right decision considering how little he's played for Chelsea this year. So I do really like Bonucci and Spinazzola. Now, Bastoni is in there. That is because we are still not sure whether Chiellini will be playing next to Bonucci. If Chiellini is in there, I believe he's 6 million. He will not be somebody I'm touching just because Bonucci's so cheap. So I would be going for Bonucci, all ends up there. Donnarumma in goal is my favourite goalkeeper in the competition at the moment. Yes, he is 6 million, but I think he is worth it. He is nailed. He'll play every game. He, belies his years. He does not act like he is as young as he is, but I really, really like him. I am actually looking to potentially double up on my Italy defenders. Having Donnarumma and Bonucci, most probably, I think is quite a nice little fixture there. When they go up against teams like Switzerland, Turkey and Wales, I'm hoping for at least 2 clean sheets in there, really. So that's just the Italian defence there. When we're looking across the middle, Jorginho is in the middle there. He hasn't been called up yet, and that is because he's going to be playing in the Champions League final. So I do expect him to still be called up, and I do expect him to be sat in the middle there. What usually happens, though, is Jorginho kind of drifts a little bit back and he becomes the quarterback, and then Verratti and Barella will most probably be pushed a little bit more forward. I still wouldn't touch Verratti. I think he is a walking yellow card, and I doubt he's going to be getting you many goals or assists in return either. Barella, on the other hand, does have a goal in him, but he's probably not the best priced. Now, when we're looking at midfielders for Italy, yes, they're playing on the wing, and yes, they're going to be extremely forward. I do like Chiesa. I really, really like him. He's had a superb season on loan at Juventus this year, and I think for 8 million, he's a snip. I had him in my Champions League squad in FanTeam this year, and he was exceptional. So he is somebody that I'm going to be very much looking at in my team. Do I want to be tripling up on Italy? I think this is quite a nice group. I don't mind tripling up on Italy at the moment, I must say. Insigne is obviously the other side. I'm a little bit worried about Insigne. I don't think he's got the output for Italy yet. Yes, Chiesa is exactly the same. He hasn't necessarily done it for his country yet, but I quite like the prospect of Chiesa, whereas Insigne, I feel like it's been happening for a while. I'm not really sure whether he's going to do it on the big stage. He could be a good creator and could get those balls in, but I'm a little bit worried about Insigne, so I probably won't be touching him. If it was between those two, I'd be all over Chiesa. Now up front, you'll notice that we haven't got Immobile in. That is because it is really 50-50 who's going to start up top. Belotti has a very good season. He's also been very, very good for Italy in qualifying, and he did play just over 50% of the games. Immobile was the other one, unfortunately, and Immobile obviously had a very good season not too long ago as well, so it is really 50-50. Immobile is 9 million, Belotti is 8.5. I think they have priced him as such because they're not sure who's going to be starting up front either. But I am hoping Belotti could get the nod. And then for 8.5 million, I wouldn't say that was that bad. Personally, though, based on how much I think Italy could be scoring, I would be inclined to go with those defensive players and maybe skip out on the Italian attackers. That's just me. That's just personal. I think their value could be in their defenders and in their goalkeeper. So that's probably the way I'm going to go. For 8.5 million for a striker, I think you'll see in this group that we talk about in a minute, there's another striker that's coming up with 4 million less, and I think he's going to be scoring just as many goals as someone like Belotti could do. So that's my roundup of Italy. As I said, for me, key highlights are defence. That's the one I'm going to be attacking. And if I was going to go for a midfielder or an attacking player, it's probably going to be Chiesa of Juventus or Fiorentina because he's on loan. Now, we move on next to Switzerland. Now, sorry, I've just been watching Eurovision, so Switzerland, I like the way that sounds. I think there are 1 or 2 good players that I'm looking at from Switzerland, but to be honest, in this group, the fact I think they're going to be finishing third, we're not really looking at this and thinking, right, okay, Switzerland, they might finish third, so they might go through to the next round, and then that's okay, because we're all going to be wildcarding practically and getting unlimited transfers after the group stages anyway, so I probably won't be touching Switzerland. The only thing I will say is Sommer in goal is a very, very capable keeper and could get you quite a few save points as well. Their back three at the back there is pretty much nailed on. Elvedi at 4.5 million could be a little bargain there. Shah takes penalties for Newcastle occasionally, but for 5 million, is he really 0.5 million less than Bonucci? I don't think so. I think defence is where you're probably going to be looking for those 4.5 million bargains to put on your bench to allow you to bring in those big hitters up front. Ricardo Rodriguez, I have a personal thing for. I absolutely love him. I loved him before when he was at Wolfsburg, and I've played him in Euro competitions before, and I do really, really like him. I think he's one of those players that can bomb on. The only worry is with him, again, is that he might drop back into that back three. We just have to wait and see. It is tough because obviously there won't be many opportunities to see how they're going to line up before the Euros start. But if there's any indication that he's starting at left wing back, I really, really like the look of him. 5 million, I wish he was 4.5. If he was 4.5, he'd be straight in my team. But I do really like the look of Rodriguez. Mbabu's one to keep an eye on as well, playing that right wing back role. He's not been priced up yet, I don't believe, in FanTeam. So keep an eye on him. Freuler and Xhaka in the middle, not to be touched. Xhaka in particular, yes, he can have a good game and he can get a few assists. He can also hit a thunderbolt when he wants to, but it's few and far between. And Xhaka, we know from the Premier League, is a walk-in yellow and red card. And at their price, 5.5 million and 6 million for two players that are never going to be getting forward and playing that double pivot to protect the back. Yeah, it's not for me, I don't think. Up front, however, you do have Seferovic, who does have pedigree, and actually he has enjoyed goal-scoring seasons recently. I don't think, with the way this group is, although they've got Wales' first game, I still wouldn't be touching their attack. Shaqiri is tempting there at 7 million, but for 7 million, you can get some very, very tasty midfield options. So, yes, Shaqiri is their talisman, and yes, he is somebody that can create as well. If you're determined to get a Switzerland attacking player in, then yes, Shaqiri is probably the way to go. I do quite like Embolo. I think he is a player that will play well with Seferovic. He has not had a very good season, Embolo. He's only scored 3 or 4 goals in the whole season. But if he can get going, he could be one to have a bit of a look at. But is he worth 6 million when Seferovic is 6.5? I would probably go for Seferovic if I really wanted to go for a Switzerland attacker. But all in all, I think I'd be touching maybe Shaqiri, Rodriguez or Sommer are my 3 picks from there. And the Turkey team, and here he is. Now, this is the team that I think are going to finish second in the group. I think it is. Turkey are my dark horses this year. I really, really like them as a team. Now, for me, I think this team has 2 of the biggest bargains in FanTeam at the moment. Number 1, Çalhanoğlu. Love him. I've loved him for so long. And I think on all set pieces, on penalties, on corners, on free kicks, I think he could be a potential bargain at 5.5 million. He's the perfect kind of player that you can plug him into your team. You can play him as that 4th or even 5th mid, if you're depending on how your funds are distributed. And I really like the look of him. Really like the look of him. He's also got that swagger. He's got that determination, and he knows he's good. He knows he's going to be stepping up for his team. The team will be looking to get him the ball as much as possible. So he's my number 1 bargain. I say number 1 bargain. He's bargain number 1. Bargain number 2, that man up front, Yilmaz. What a season he has had for Lille. He is 4.5 million in FanTeam. 4.5 million for a player that has scored almost 20 goals for Lille this year, and he is starting up front for Turkey in a not so bad group. I am all over that. He should be the first name on everybody's team sheet this year. He can sit on your bench if you want to, but to be honest, for 4.5 million, I am more than happy to start him. I'm more than happy to have him as one of my 3 strikers starting up front in week 1. Yes, I know they've got Italy, and yes, I know I've said that I'm going to be starting with double Italy defence, but this is the season-long game we're talking about at the moment, and I think Yilmaz is perfect, especially if they do start to look like they're going to finish second. When they go up against Wales, when they go up against Switzerland, I would not worry about the fact that he's going up against them. I'd be very, very happy. I'll be benching him against Italy if I bring him into my team, but then, like I said, with Turkey and Wales coming up next, I'd be very, very happy with that. Yokuslu and Tufan, they're going to be doing that double pivot as well at the back. Very, very defensive. Yaziki, though, I really do like the look of him. 4.5 million. Do you see what I mean about the bargains in this Turkish team? Especially if they do as well as I think they're going to do. Yaziki, I think, is a very good player. Winger. He will be going up forward as well, and he'll be supporting Yilmaz up top. And obviously Çalhanoğlu too. I think it's going to be few and far between. I won't be packing my team full of Turkish players, but I think Yilmaz, Çalhanoğlu and Yaziki, I think if you went for any of those, I would not begrudge you at all. But like I said, 4.5 million for these players. get in. We'll take that any day. I think Soyuncu is going to be very heavily picked in defence there. And Demiral as well, to be honest, because he's obviously at Barcelona and Soyuncu is at Leicester. One of the things that people are going to fall into a trap of is only picking people from Premier League teams because they're used to them, they know who they are, and they feel confident picking them. I think that's a bad move, personally. I think Soyuncu has had a very poor season at Leicester this year, and I don't see Turkey keeping many clean sheets. I think they'll concede against Switzerland. I think they'll concede against Italy. There's every chance they concede against Wales as well. So it is the Turkish attack that I would mainly be focusing on if it was me. I think if you had to push me now for just one player from Turkey that I would pick, it would be Yilmaz. I think 4.5 million for a starting striker that could score goals in this group stage. I think he's for me, definitely. Moving on to the Wales team now, and this is a little bit controversial because I have gone for Wales playing a false 9 formation. I'm going with a false 9 formation because I think it brings out the best of the players they've got. And if they weren't playing a false 9 formation, I think Harry Wilson would come out and Kiefer Moore would come in and then Bale and James would be on the wings. I think Bale at 6 million, considering his potential and considering his obvious talent, I think they're telling you there 6 million because we are not expecting Wales to do a lot. Bale really should be in, 7-8 million price. When you consider how much he came in an FPL at as well, he should be more expensive than that. But they are taking into account the fact that this group isn't an easy group for Wales, and the fact that, just Gareth Bale, is he quite on it at the moment? Is he that bothered? I mean, to be fair to him, he's always been bothered about Wales. Just Spurs this year that he couldn't be bothered about, but then nobody else could anyway. I do quite like Dan James at 5 million. Pace merchant, he's going to get in. He might win some penalties, and he might do quite well. Playing on the break, playing on the counter, which Wales might try and do this year. I am waiting to see what Ramsey gets priced up at as well, because Ramsey has always been such a good player. He hasn't had a great season for Juve. That move hasn't really worked, unfortunately, but he does play well for Wales, and he does have that box-to-box midfielder vibe where he will get into the box. He will take good shots from outside the box as well. So he is somebody that you can look at. It's just a shame he hasn't been priced up yet, but hopefully that will change when the updated list comes through. Ampadu, 4.5 million, is a defender on the game, but he plays in midfield. Yes, it's defensive midfield, but if you want a cheap Welsh defender, I would actually go for Ampadu just because, he's slightly more likely to get a return for you. I think Roberts and Williams, those wing-back roles are very, very... they're not nailed, I wouldn't say. And yes, I realise they're the wrong way round. But yes, they're wing-backs. Yes, for 4.5 million, it could be worth it. I think I'd be going for Ampadu. Rodon, Mepam, it's all much of a muchness, to be honest, in that Wales back line. I think unless you are bringing in a Wales defender that you think is going to get attack and returns, they're not worth it, even at 4.5 million. Ward could be somebody that you could bring in as your second keeper just to keep on the bench, because he will be a playing keeper at 4.5 million, and you're just going to be hoping for save points, really. I have said it already. I think Wales are going to come bottom of this group. I feel sorry for any of my Welsh friends, unfortunately, but I do think they're the weakest team in this group, and I think they're the team you're going to have to target in this group. If you've got Italy, Turkish players, if you've got Swiss players as well, you're going to be playing them against Wales when they come up to them. If you did want to lump for a Welsh defender or Welsh defensive asset in this group, I would probably go for Ward out of all of them, if I'm perfectly honest. And even then, I think he's just going to be bench fodder. I don't think I'll be playing him in any of my games. If I've got somebody like Donnarumma, I'm going to be playing him every game in the group stages, I think. So I'm finding it hard to pick anybody from this team. But if you are Welsh, or if you are somebody that has an affinity for Wales, I think it would be Dan James and Ampadu that I would be touching, and then Ward just as a bit of a bench fodder person. It's going to free up some funds later on in your team. Now, I should mention his name, Motley Barnett's absolute baller in the community, and he has done a lot of these predicted lineups with me. What he has also done, and he's done it so I can plug the FF Collective website as well, he has done a best of Group A. Now, I haven't changed this in any way. This is just how he has done it. And I thought, actually, I love the fact, give him some credit. He's done some fantastic work. And I thought I'd show you his best of Group A. And I'll be doing this for every group as well. Now, in some ways we differ, and in some ways we're exactly the same. He has opted for Jan Sommer. I'm assuming that's because he didn't want the triple up of Italy in there. I do like Jan Sommer. He's a cracking keeper. I do like Donnarumma more, though. So I would be going for Donnarumma there, I think. But I completely understand if people go for Sommer. He has gone for that double Italy defence. He obviously thinks the same as me, that it is that Italy defence that's probably where the value's at. Bonucci in particular, as I said, straight in there. He has opted for Florenzi, and I'm assuming that's because of his attacking potential as well. For me, I think I'd spend that million less and go for someone like Spinazzola, personally. But that's just where we differ at the moment. Rodriguez, good man. He's gone for Rodriguez, just like I said I would as well. But he's actually gone for Connor Roberts as his Welsh defensive option there. I would go for Ampadu personally. But to be honest, I don't think either of us are expecting much. And then we go into our midfield, and he has actually gone for Gareth Bale. For me, I wouldn't be touching this Welsh team. I know they did so well in the Euros, in the last Euros. I think they were riding the crest of a wave. They had Hal Robinson-Kanu up front. It kind of tells you all you need to know. I don't think they're going to be doing much this time round, unfortunately. I think they used up all their good faith in the last one. He's also gone for Wilson as well. If I were to go with anybody, I would be going with Dan James personally. That's not because I'm a Man United fan. It's just because I think he could do well on the counter-attack. He's gone for Insigne in his midfield as well. As I've already said before, I think it's a toss-up between the two, but I do favour Chiesa just because I really like him as a player. I think Chiesa is a cracking player, and I think he has got the potential to do something for Italy that Insigne hasn't done yet. So I would be favouring Chiesa. Shaqiri, yes, I do understand that, going for him in midfield. And then my two Turkish boys, Yilmaz and Çalhanoğlu, completely agree with this. I would be all over both of those personally. Like I said, 4.5 million for Yilmaz. I mean, I cannot say it enough. You need to be on him if you are not on him already. And then Çalhanoğlu, on all set pieces, on penalties, going to be the main man up top. If they're going to score goals, he will most probably be involved. So, Motley Barnett, I completely agree with all your team. There's just a few little tweaks I would make. Now, we are going to be bringing you this every week. So, sorry, I say that every week. We're going to be bringing you, this is the first of 6 days. So, every day we're going to be bringing you a different group. So, tomorrow is going to be Group B. The next day is going to be Group C, and so on and so forth. Please leave your comments, especially if you don't agree with something. If you think that I've missed something, or you think that something should be a bit different, let me know. That's absolutely fine. Draft Gym, the website that I work for, are going to be doing some content all about the Euros as well soon, so make sure you look out for that. We will be doing some other leagues as well, so make sure you come in on those, especially if you don't want to pay for them. But I think with the help that we're giving you here, you should be absolutely fine to get yourself started for the Euros. As I've already said, this is subject to change. Things change an awful lot in 2 weeks, but we're just using the information we've got at the moment, and it's just giving you a bit of a heads up as to what we think the teams are going to look like. So, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stream tonight, and we will be talking to you very soon, hopefully, and we'll be bringing you Group B up next with some more key players, more bargains, and more fun. Oi, oi.